And this is why I always tell you to keep everything. Remember all of those shrimp shells from our shrimp scampi recipe? We're going to use those up to make an amazing, super easy to make shrimp bisque. I know you're going to love this recipe. I'm such a huge fan of bisque, and whenever you hear that word, technically it means it should only have shellfish. All those other soups that have bisque in there without shellfish, those are just cream of whatever. Now, this recipe that I'm using here goes all the way back to culinary school. We made lobster bisque back then, but the technique and the procedure is the exact same, and it is so dang good. I can't say it enough. You're gonna love this, I promise. But first, we're gonna knock out a little prep. Sound good? Let's cook. We're going to begin by chopping up some mirepoix, beginning with some yellow onions. I've got some smaller onions here, so if you've got a larger one, just use one instead of two. Now, go ahead and roughly dice them, and you want them to be about a small to medium dice, but again, make it rough. No need to be perfect here. We're going to do the exact same thing with some celery stalks, and those leaves at the end of the celery are totally good to use in this recipe as well. And then for the secret ingredient, my friends, some fennel. This will take this shrimp bisque to a whole other level. You will love it. Don't skip out on this. And then last but not least, I've got a few carrots. They're not peeled. If you want to peel them, totally fine. It's no big deal to me if I don't peel them. What we're going to do then is simply set them to the side in a bowl. So obviously we're making this mirepoix for the stock, and usually I would have big cuts. But because a shrimp bisque or even a lobster bisque can only cook for about 45 minutes to an hour, that's about as much flavor as you can pull from it. You gotta have these vegetables nice and small. That way flavors can extract quicker. Think about it. When you have a big, huge carrot, that can handle a 6 to 8 hour cook and still get flavors out of it over that time. But when something's really small, things go out even quicker. That's exactly why we do it. Now what we do is pull all of those peeled shrimp shells right out of the freezer, and let me tell you, all shrimp shells are good here. Small, medium, large, you name it. And if you have a few uncooked, unused shrimps, perfect to use in this recipe as well, go ahead and pull them out. And let me stop real quick and say, this is why I always say don't throw away anything. Keep those chicken carcasses, your beef bones, your vegetable scraps, and of course those shrimp shells. Now you're probably wondering exactly how much shrimp do I need to use to have that many shells left over. So when it comes to me, I usually cook shrimp in about 1 pound increments. So after I've deshelled about 4 total pounds over the course of, I don't know, a month or 2 months, that's when I take it out and make a shrimp bisque. So 4 pounds total cooked shrimp. These are the shells from that. That's what I'm using. It totals about 12 to 16 ounces of shells, just as an FYI. Here's what we do now. Go ahead and go over to your cooktop. I've got a large pot. We're just gonna add in a little bit of unsalted butter. Yes, you could substitute for your favorite oil here, no problem. And then the next thing we're gonna do is add in all of those shrimp shells and those few whole shrimp that I have. And what you wanna do is cook this over medium heat. Now, if you're using pink shrimp, and you can see some of those shells in here are from pink shrimp, they started off pink, but they'll start to turn white. That's when you know you are just about finished. So once it hits this point, go ahead and pull it off and set it to the side. If you are using regular wild shrimp that aren't pink, they will actually turn pink, and that's when you know they are finished. Return that pot right to the heat over medium heat. We're going to add in some unsalted butter again, and then all of that mirepoix, the onion, celery, carrots, and fennel, add that right to the pot. And then what we're going to do at this point is add in a bay leaf, followed up with some flat Italian parsley. Then I'm going to add in some thyme and some tarragon. You can do one or the other or both like I did. That part is totally up to you. If you only have thyme, great. If you only have tarragon, fantastic. Go ahead and put a spoon in there and mix all of these ingredients together until combined. And then we're going to cook them just until they are lightly brown, just like this. No need to get a full caramelization. Then we're going to add in some tomato paste. This is going to add some flavor, and obviously it's going to add some color. So go ahead and mix it in. We're just going to cook it for maybe 3 to 4 minutes. If you need to turn the heat down to low, absolutely no problem. Deglaze with a little white wine, Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc. All of those would be great in this recipe. And then for another secret, add in some cognac. Oh my gosh, is this going to take it to the next level? Okay, really quick. One of the biggest questions I get is asking about alcohol and liquor substitutes. Now, my own personal thought is there really are no perfect substitutes. The flavors are so unique, and you're deglazing and doing specific procedures with them. There's no great sub. But what I always tell people is just simply skip it. Whether you can't drink it or don't want to drink it, just skip the process. It will be just fine. Now, once the cognac and white wine are just about cooked off and there's just a little bit left or au sec, we're going to add back in those cooked shrimp shells. Combine everything together, and we're going to cook it for maybe just a few more minutes just to give it a chance to infuse in those flavors, and then hit it with some water. Now, if you want to take this to another level, you could add in some fish stock. That'll just make it that much more delicious. And then at this point, all you want to do is stir it until combined, and then it cooks over low to medium heat on a nice simmer for about 45 to 60 minutes. At that time, come back. Now, you know I have a hand blender, so what I'm going to do is blend everything together. Now, you're not going to be able to finely puree this, obviously, because there are shrimp shells and big vegetables in there. And if you don't have a hand blender, you could also just do it in a regular blender. Again, no need to get this perfectly smooth at this point. So a few quick things before we get to straining it. Don't let it freak you out that we're sort of using a hand blender to blend this. We're kind of just like finely mincing it. We can't get a perfect puree because obviously there's shells and huge vegetable peelings in there. It's not going to work well. But we're trying to pull as much flavor as possible, just like I mentioned. Doing this will make your bisque that much better. However, if it does weird you out and you're just like, gosh, I cannot do this, my suggestion to you would be use a little less water so your bisque flavors are a little more concentrated, just in case you're just like, you know what, I can't puree this. It's too weird for me. Now, when it comes to straining it, my best advice to you is invest in a good chinois. That is a fine mesh strainer. If you don't have one of those, you can use a little cheesecloth over a regular strainer. Now, let's take our soup, and then I'm going to use a little bit of a dipping pot just because sometimes when you tip a big pot like this over, things go absolutely everywhere. So if I do a little bit at a time to be safe, I know I'll be good. Now, your stock may be more pink, it may be darker, maybe a little thicker, a little thinner. Don't worry, it's all good. Once you have completely strained this off, what I like to do is sort of push all of that last goodness through the chinois strainer just to make sure you get everything. We are going to take this back over to our cooktop, and then in a separate pot, in a new pot, we're going to add in some unsalted butter. We want to melt it. What we want to do here is make a roux. Once the butter is melted, hit it with some all-purpose flour, and then grab a whisk and mix everything in there until it's completely combined. We're just looking to make a white roux, not even a blonde roux. So just about when it's combined, after a minute or so, add back in that shrimp stock, and what immediately you need to do is turn that heat up to medium high. What this does, it will activate that roux to make sure it thickens up. So I like to continually whisk it just to make sure the roux is in there. There's no clumps of butter and flour in there. You'll see it start to thicken up just like this. Absolutely perfect. And then at this point, we want to cream it. So add in some heavy whipping cream. Whisk it while you're stirring it in. You'll start to see that it lightens up. You still get that nice pink orange flavor that you've seen in a shrimp or a lobster bisque. And then last but not least, we want to season it well with some sea salt, but this time we're going to use ground white pepper. We want this soup to stay its color. We don't want any black specks in there from ground black pepper, so white pepper is preferred. Use a whisk, get it back in there, stir everything until it's completely combined. Looks absolutely fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is go back over to my countertop with my strainers. I've washed it out. I've rinsed out that bowl. Pour everything through there, and then again, just use maybe a spatula or a ladle to push all that goodness through the bottom of your chinois. And that is why you invest in a good chinois strainer. You can use it quite a few times in this recipe, and of course, you'll use it for many recipes down the road. It looks amazing. It smells amazing. And to my commies, all of my chefs in training out there, you start to understand these fundamental basic cooking techniques and putting them into practice, like using leftover shrimp shells to make an amazing soup, the cognac that brings out so many wonderful flavors, the light puree of the shrimp shells to take even another step to the top in flavor. Oh my gosh, you put these into practice and put them into all of your everyday cooking. My promise to you is it will always be better. And like I always tell you, homemade food from scratch will always taste 10 times better than anything out there. That, my friend, is such a true statement. Now, of course, let's plate up in slow-mo. I've got a nice sized bowl here, and I'm just gonna pour it just from my 1-gallon container. It pours so nicely in there. See how smooth and silky that is? It's perfect. If you've got a little bit of cooked shrimp, add it in there. And then I've got a little bit of sour cream mixed with milk. No big deal. This is totally optional, just like the cooked shrimp. And I'm gonna finish it with chives. And man, oh man, check out this beauty. This is an absolute must make. Be sure to save those shrimp shells. I'm telling you, this is so worth it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, and check out this video right here. Made it just for you all. I'll see you on there.